Hi,
Okay.
I'm Florida Man, Douglas
On
Rintoul.
on video for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. Your
Yes, I
channel.
guess this is a face reveal.
uh, you didn't even go for a single video face reveal, but I guess you could make that the title. But anyway, I am Professor Colburn of Colburn Classroom, and it's a collaboration video we're doing. There'll be a video on my channel on just the educational value and the history of diplomacy, and this will be just a game run through when we play together. Correct?
Yes, that is the plan as I understand it as well. So we played a shorthanded live game of diplomacy. The game was titled Saturday Night Five because there were only going to be 5 players, and so the German and Italian positions were surrendered with no players in them at the start. I was England, you were Russia. Um, so why don't we start with our initial thoughts our initial thoughts and communications when we started the game.
Let me add something. It was a 2 hour, I believe, live game, and it was scheduled to end at the end of the 2 hours, not to play on.
That's correct. Just like a live in-person game would.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. Simulated the experience of a house game in a way.
You know what I should be doing is looking at my messages.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, let me pull up the game myself. You're gonna have a lot of editing to do.
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm happy to edit out anything that makes us look silly.
So initially, Turkey messages me saying, "Hi Russia, Turkey, Russia, and Austria always come into conflict. I would love to work with you to keep them out of your hair." And my initial thought is that I'm going to work with Turkey for the majority of the game to take out Austria. And this seems like an obvious choice because there's no Italy, so it will be a 2v1 when it could have been a 2v2. And that's our initial plan with the first turn.
Interesting.
And I reach out to Austria as well, and I say a complete lie, which is normally you and I would be in conflict, but now that Italy is out of the game, the whole dynamic has changed. Do you want to work together? Just to smooth things over and keep him in the dark.
Try to start things on a positive note. With my opening as England, I talked to France because since there's no German player, he is my only neighbor besides you. Russia is sort of a maritime neighbor of England. And so I want to try and maintain a positive relationship with both France and Russia until the German centers are disposed of, and then I can have my choice, hopefully, of which one of you to attack. And gain that growth from those unoccupied German centers so that I'll be strong enough to win in whichever attack I choose to make. Let's see how spring 1901 actually plays out, though. So as you can probably see from the shared screen, we all kind of make pretty standard tame openings, I would say. I open to Norwegian Sea and North Sea. France opens to Mid-Atlantic and Spain and moves to take Belgium as well. So with Germany gone, he's going to get 3 builds instead of the usual 2 in 1901. Russia, what's going on your side of the board?
So I bounce with Turkey in the Black Sea. That was arranged, and I move toward taking Romania. And I go for Galicia. So I'm already being very aggressive toward Austria, and I might have even told him that was a DMZ to lull him into it.
I was kind of wondering if that was an arranged bounce, but guess
Which
not.
was arranged?
What'd you say?
Oh, is that a bounce there?
In Galicia, yes, you guys bounce.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's an arranged bounce. Let me see my messages.
You both just decided to be aggressive. Well, it's a pretty standard opening for both Russia and Austria, really, to be hostile toward each other.
I think we usually are adversaries. So even though I had plans to attack him later, it was an arranged bounce.
Well, that makes a lot of sense too.
I guess just so he wouldn't know what was coming. But this is the turn where everything changed from my point of view, because I saw you and France not challenging each other at all, and then I saw the conflict between myself with Turkey against Austria as a total distraction by which you and France would gain a lot of ground. So I immediately reached out to Austria and said, well, we were going to attack you, but we need to worry about England and France now, so let's get serious. And I said the same to Turkey, and I thought Turkey was on board with both of us. And that was our plan going forward, was to do what we could to take you on, because we saw you two moving away from each other completely and
It's interesting.
getting a lot of centers.
Yeah, it's hard to say what got to do with a shorthanded game like this, because I obviously that was not my ideal result to make you suspicious. But in response to the spring moves, I was just planning to acquire as many centers as I could as early as I could. So I was going for Belgium and Norway and kind of the usual.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't all that much thought that went into the fall moves. It was just executing on the same plan as the spring. So maybe I can just move us to the fall season, and then we can discuss what happened there or
Mm-hmm.
after that.
Let's do that.
All right. So fall, I successfully land in Norway and Holland, and you get into Sweden, of course, because there's no German to bounce you, and you also get Romania. And France is already putting a unit in the Mediterranean.
So this just further convinces us that you two have decided to ignore each other for the time being, which is to both of your benefit and potentially to the three of us, to our demise if we decide to attack each other.
I can see how you would come to that conclusion.
Well, isn't it correct? I mean, we have to worry about you two are surrounded by two dead powers, Germany and Italy. Yes, there's a border between myself and you, but that's the exception. And it's not as big of a border as the one between Russia and Austria. And also Turkey has a border with the two of us as well. See, all three of us are bordered.
Well,
so it is really, are we going to work together or not?
That's a fair point. I will say that that you really do have a point that England and France working together, are definitely a more formidable force than an Eastern triangle that's still divided against each other. And my thinking at the beginning was that I'm a corner power like Turkey, and because one of my neighbors is not even in the game, I can kind of sit back and relax. So I do think that there was some danger that England and France would sweep over the land, or alternatively, there's some danger that I at least might have taken Sweden and St. Pete off of you before I decided to turn on France.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of my thinking, was that I would take what I could from Russia, assuming France didn't attack me, and that I would then use that as fuel to strengthen my attack on France. And given that no one could attack me but France and Russia, if I essentially took away Russia's ability to fight me at an early point in the game, I would probably win, since France would be fighting you guys in the east, and then suddenly there would be a calamitous backstab coming from the northwest. But that's not quite what happened. So let's go to the builds. I had determined that I was going to build a fleet in London because I was hoping it would make everyone who wasn't France think that I was going after France now. apparently you guys had already made up your minds, that I was too friendly with France, and that friendship was too dangerous for us to be allowed to continue. But that was my thinking. What were you thinking at this point?
I was going along with the plan that I described previously, which is to take you out, or at least work on bringing you down. So that's why you see the Northern Fleet build. I mean, that's obviously an anti-England move, and I was also thinking I would move with Austria toward Germany, hoping that Turkey wouldn't cause any problems south of me, and letting him take the Black Sea.
Did you mean to let him into the Black Sea, or did you guys say it was going to be Turkish, or what?
I let him into the Black Sea. I was assuming that he was going to go along with the plan that we had decided upon, because the Anglo-French threat was great enough that we couldn't distract ourselves.
Well, I can see that. Let's see.
Sounds like you're a bit skeptical of my reasoning.
Well, I mean, it was just the two of us. Little old me in France. But I do agree that in another, if you left us for another year or two alone, we could have been a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
But I guess I would have been more worried about my neighbors, about my other immediate neighbors. But that's the challenge of playing Russia always, is that, and especially with the shorthanded game, you have more neighbors than anyone else.
Yes, I have the neighbors that other people don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a German neighbor, but Germany isn't Russia's biggest problem necessarily, with a big
Not
DMZ.
usually. I usually think that a Germany that attacks Russia really early on is making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. Germany would have been much more of a problem for me, I think, potentially. All right, so let's see what happens in the spring after you make that nerve-wracking build that immediately sets off alarm bells. But this is going to be the cakewalk that I had planned.
You reached out to me at this point and said, I think we had been talking, but you said that Northern Fleet build looks unfriendly or something along those lines, and I basically wasn't trying to trick you at that point. I said, "What did you expect?" And you said, "Oh well, aren't you concerned about France now gaining too much ground?"
Yeah.
I don't know when exactly you made that argument, but that was soon your persuasive act.
That was definitely my thinking in spring 1902, because it's in my notes that I made of this game. I said to myself, Russia transparently aggressive against me, not even hiding it. I ask France for support, try to talk Russia into fighting France for control of Germany, and try to talk Austria-Turkey into fighting Russia. And then I wrote Russia.
You try to talk France into fighting. Can you say that over again?
Oh, sorry. I asked France for support. I tried to talk Russia into fighting France for control of Germany, and I tried to talk Austria-Turkey into fighting Russia. And I also note that Russia puts me off with excuses.
I didn't make that many excuses, I don't think, did I? I was just saying, you were getting too strong, and I wanted to.
I think you made just basically the one explanation, and then you were you basically refused to really commit to trying to fight for the German centers.
Right.
And you, as expected, you went and you took Norway from me.
And I made a miscalculation this turn because I left myself completely open to Turkey. I moved from Sevastopol to Romania, and I moved from Romania to, is that Galicia or Silesia?
That's Galicia, and then you also moved Warsaw to Silesia.
Right. So I'm leaving myself totally exposed to Turkey, thinking he won't stab me because he knows we have other things to worry about, and maybe he can satisfy himself with Italy. I was suggesting a convoy from Constantinople to Apulia via the Turkish and Austrian fleets.
Interesting planning there. I mean, I respect the fact that you were trying to make an unconventional a rat alliance work, which I think I may have seen that successfully pulled off before, but if so, it's extraordinarily rare. You know, trying to get all the Eastern powers allied together. But I think Turkey might have been listening to me. Well, I mean, anyway, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, knowing that you're going to take Norway, I move to position myself so that I can immediately retake it if I want to. And so I move into Skagerrak and North Sea, and I also, basically I'm just planning for you to have taken Norway, and I'll just take it right back. And let's see what happens next. I retreat to the Barents Sea so I can threaten St. Petersburg if I want to. Now fall happens. I ended up making a different choice than trying to go after Norway this time. Do you want to go first about what you were thinking in fall of 19?
Yeah, let me add something. For the previous turn, Austria was pretty nervous by the moves I made into his DMZs, and I just said, well, we really have to go after the Anglo-French alliance. No, I'm near your centers, but I don't have any intention of taking them. And meanwhile, I do know that I am leaving myself exposed to Turkey this turn, 1902. So I leave Romania for Sevastopol, thinking this will probably be a bounce, and in fact is. And it looks like Turkey also went for Romania at the same time and ended up with double bouncing and not taking anything from me. But it doesn't really matter because he will take something from me the next turn quite easily because I'm totally exposed.
And what were you thinking about your conflict in the West?
I was just thinking take the German centers faster than France will. And it looks like I supported Austria into Munich. So I was trying to be a good ally and, make sure that he and I were working together. And I took Norway successfully. And I did not anticipate you moving to Barents for whatever reason, as predictable as it might have been.
I mean, it was either that or Norwegian Sea, and there was a risk to me if I retreated to Barents as well. So the risk there was that, you can easily get into Norwegian Sea if you have Norway and I'm not in Norwegian Sea. And then maybe you could sneak around behind me, but decide to take that risk because I want the forward momentum and to have a unit closer to your home center. So then in fall, what were you? Oh, you already said why you supported Austria into Munich.
You moved. Let me just see. You moved to Barents Sea in the fall. It wasn't.
No, that was my spring retreat.
Oh, okay. So now you're going for St. Petersburg at this point. We bounced in St. Petersburg this turn.
Oh, that is funny, huh? You were still in St. Petersburg, and my initial plan had been to attack Norway. So I had ordered Barents Sea to tap St. Petersburg so it couldn't successfully support Norway. But then France told me that you were asking him if he should defend Norway or Sweden, and I asked him to tell you Norway, and so I decided to go after Sweden instead of Norway.
Got it. Regardless, Norway was a better territory for me because it placed me closer to you rather than Sweden, which was just stuck with a dead power next to it.
I think that was probably good thinking, and also because you can use St. Petersburg to support Norway in place, and you can't do that with Sweden.
Right, that too.
So I do think that between losing Norway and losing Sweden was better. But I ended up being happy with the way the year had gone because I got Sweden to make up for losing Norway, and I also got Denmark. If I had tried to force Norway, I couldn't have gotten Denmark, and I think that was why I decided to just go for Sweden instead. The fall build, the 1902 build rather. Not really much to say here. I built a fleet.
And I built a North Fleet again, I guess.
No, you still had the North Fleet. You didn't.
I still had the Northern Fleet.
Yeah, in 1902 you didn't have a build because you had gained one and lost one.
Right, I gained Norway, lost Sweden.
Yeah, I built a fleet because in London because I had some small inkling that France might possibly betray me. I was getting concerned about that because, unlike me, France was meeting with almost no opposition, and he was growing at about the same rate as as me actually, but he was growing a little faster, so I was nervous about him. And Happily, France did not build a fleet in Brest, so he decides not to betray me that season at least. What are you thinking as we enter spring 1903?
Is this where we started working together? Not yet. Let me see our messages, because there was a season where we clearly started working together.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I had become so nervous about France at a certain point that it was definitely
You were
necessary.
diploming hard, as they say.
What'd you say?
You were diploming hard, as they say. So it looks like it was. When does Turkey stab me? Does Turkey stab me yet? Not sure. Turkey had already stabbed me at this point because they had gone for Sevastopol.
Yes.
And yes, now they're going for Romania. So I was open to your
overtures.
Your overtures, because I had been stabbed, couldn't fight a northern and southern war at that point. So I think it looks like you basically had been here, fall 1902 build. I said, I'm going to back off attacking you to deal with Turkey. I can't erase the North Fleet build, can I? And you said no.
I said, I'm afraid erasures are not possible in diplomacy.
Right. So we agreed to work together at the point that Turkey had attacked me, and I said, "Oh, can I retreat to the Black Sea?" You said, "I don't think that's an option." I said,
"Oh yeah, I thought he had attacked you from the Black Sea, but I think you're looking at fall now."
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong.
Yeah, you're looking at the fall retreat. So let me first say what I was thinking in spring, and then we can go to fall. With the spring, I move on Skagerrak. I also move into North Sea, and I also take Kiel or Kyle, which is at the same time that you take Berlin. That's the last of Germany.
I take Berlin with my own support.
That is congratulations.
Germany puts up no fight at all.
Anyway, so my moves. I'm clearly preparing to attack Norway, as well as seizing Kyle. And down south, France got into the Ionian and looks poised to attack Italy and also Austria. Let's go to fall.
So at this point, Turkey had gone for Romania the previous turn, but then they switched things up by going for Sevastopol ultimately. Not just yet, but I reach out to you in the build phase. But for now, I've been successfully stabbed by Turkey, and things are not going well for me, despite taking Berlin.
Yeah, on net, that's not a great season for you, because you took Berlin but lost Norway and Sevastopol. At the same time, I'm becoming increasingly worried about France. I'm hoping that you can stop fighting me in the north, and we can sort of come together in the center, and you and me in Austria will all sing Kumbaya, and Austria will join me in attacking France, because he already has a unit that borders a bunch of French units, his unit in Munich. Well, that's kind of the general thought process in fall. I know I ask you to destroy your Norway fleet, and you do. And you successfully retreat Sevastopol to the Black Sea, which I didn't think you were able to do because I hadn't been paying close attention to the way Turkey was attacking you, and I thought the attack had come from the Black Sea.
Oh, this is the retreat phase. Let's go to the build.
Surprisingly, only Austria has a build this year.
Mm-hmm. So I message you this turn, fall 1903 build, and I say, with a new heading saying alliance ? Turkey just seems determined to help France win. Perhaps the three of us should begin working together. So I CC Austria and message you, and you say I'm agreeable to this. Well, you say that the next turn, but that is during the spring orders phase. So why don't we go to spring orders?
I think that's a good idea. And we actually start really working together.
Mm-hmm.
I see that, and
so you had, let's see, Berlin supports Munich to hold. I take Bulgaria. While Turkey maintains position in Sevastopol, I take Bulgaria from him with Austria's help, I believe. And then I guess Austria helps you into Kiel. or into Ruhr rather?
Let me see. Actually, no. Austria doesn't help me into Ruhr. I see Munich just held in place.
Wow. He didn't stop you.
Yeah, wow. I hadn't really paid close attention to these orders, but Austria didn't do a thing for me the whole game. But I appreciate that you and Austria are not attacking me.
We agreed that France was the biggest problem right now. He was creeping very near to Austria, and he was just getting a lot of centers, and it was a danger that he would just pull away with the game.
Yes.
He had the most home centers, and with the 2-hour time limit, we really were just thinking, okay, who has the most centers right now? They're the biggest threat. It was sort of like who became the center leader became the biggest target as well.
I mean, I was thinking, I finally stopped fighting Russia. Now I can finally turn on France, and hopefully, take over the world.
And that was a good plan.
Well, it felt like it at the time, at least. So I actually do move really quickly against France. I move all of my units away from you. I move North Sea into the Channel. I move Norway to North Sea. I move Barents into Norway. I move Sweden into Denmark. I move Kiel into Ruhr with support from Holland. So everything I have has just moved further from Russia, closer to France.
Mm-hmm.
And then fall 1904, or rather, there's the spring retreat. Bulgaria has to retreat to Khan because you successfully attacked. The empire struck back against Turkey. And then in fall, this is the final season of the game. And
so at this point, Turkey has resolved to work with us. He's no longer going to be an issue. So once we've taken Bulgaria from him, it seems, successfully talked him over to our side. He keeps Sebastopol, I keep Bulgaria, and we concentrate on France. So he actually apologized for his stab at this point in the public press, no less. And this is where I stabbed you, because Austria asked me, "Are we okay with England?" And I sent a one sentence reply, which was no. So he supports me into Kiel, it looks like.
Well,
because we're noticing that when France falls, you're becoming the board leader, and actually you end the game as the board leader.
Well, I would have been more of a leader if not for you meddling Easterners. But, I mean, I was a little bit frustrated because I had planned for such a dramatic destruction of France and sudden English dominance, and you really throw a wrench into my plans because Austria was supposed to move into Burgundy, and I was going to support that from Ruhr, and that would also have cut support for Belgium, so I would have taken Belgium. I take Brest without a contest, but because Austria helps you into Kiel instead of moving into Burgundy, I not only lose Kiel, I fail to get Belgium. And the deception actually is harmful to me because not only did I lose Kiel, I wasted a support from Ruhr that could have cut support from Burgundy for Belgium. So this betrayal really throws a wrench into my plans. I'm fairly certain that if the game had gone on, the fact that I had betrayed France and in turn been betrayed by you and Austria would have caused me a fair amount of trouble, especially since France actually captured 2 centers from Italy during this final season, and so he would have had a build as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, I think we ended in a pretty good place.
I'll also note that Turkey, with Austria's help, successfully takes Ionian, it looks like, from France. So there is some pressure being put on France with the Eastern Triangle finally working now.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. He might actually have to try and negotiate with me instead of just retaliating, because the 3 of you are actually doing an Eastern triple now, which again, I think I may have only very rarely, but if ever, seen that actually work out. But you guys do end up sort of forming a combination together, and that's not a bad place to have ended the game, I think. Do you feel as if you learned anything from this game?
don't leave yourself totally exposed to your allies. But I knew that already, and I still did it.
Oh yes, that's difficult to. It's easy to preach and hard to practice. I think if I learned anything from the game, it would probably be something similar to that. Don't rely too heavily on allies you've only just acquired, unless you have no other choice. Because if I hadn't relied on Austria going for Burgundy, I would have definitely gotten Belgium. And if I hadn't assumed your and Austria's friendliness, perhaps I could have defended Kyle. Actually, I know I could have because I moved Denmark Kyle and it just didn't work because you guys attacked Kyle together. But if I had thought there's probably an Austrian-Russian attack coming, I could have defended it.
We timed the stab very well, it appears.
I think that was definitely a good moment for you. I think if the game continued, there's a fair likelihood that we would have seen a period of Russian dominance, and hopefully we would all turn against you. Who next?
Well, that's where the game ended, so we'll never know how I might have lost.
Or how you might have won. I don't know.
Right.
But it was fun, you know. It was fun to play a short game like this and a short-handed game. Interesting, different dynamics from the regular 7-player game. A little bit simpler, but fun.
I agree.
Well, it's been a pleasure. I don't know if you'll want to do something like this again, but if so, it was fun. So I would enjoy having you on my channel again, and please let me know if you'd like me to help with any videos for your channel.
I have a game I'm playing right now, and I'll let you know when it's over, I guess, or we could start commentating on it now. Actually, on another session.
I think we'd better not commentate now because there's a thing about commenting on ongoing games.
Okay, got it.
On Play Diplomacy, I think they have a rule, but I would love.
It's actually a backstabber. It's on Backstabber. But we can still.
Oh, okay.
Hold off.
Yeah, you can share the link with me.
If I get your help, I'll be very.
I don't think I should help. And
yeah, that's right.
actually, I'm looking at.
Let's just wait until it's over.
Let's wait until it's over. It's been a pleasure, though, and I hope we can collaborate on a video sometime soon once again.
Okay.
Hope you have a very pleasant weekend, Professor Colburn.
One video.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Florida Man out.